In times of COVID, it's so much harder to grieve the loss of a loved one. Hi there, it's Jeff. JR is the producer, and this is Plain English Lesson 265. The full lesson, including the transcript, translations, video, exercises, and more, is available at plainenglish.com/265. The new website looks great. I can hardly believe it's done. Well, probably because it's not done, at least not when I'm recording this, but it will be done when you hear it. You can get all the great lesson resources at plainenglish.com/265 and then explore the rest of the website when you are done. Coming up today, the COVID crisis is upending our rituals for grieving when a person has died. We'll talk about the difficulty of holding a funeral and saying goodbye in these days of social distancing. The expression is all walks of life. It's not an expression you'll use every day, but it is a good one to know. As I'm recording this lesson, the United States is about to pass a grim milestone: 100,000 deaths officially attributed to COVID-19. The worldwide total is about 350,000. Most of the media attention is focused on the disease, the hospitals, the doctors and nurses, ventilators, masks, the race for a vaccine, social distancing, government leaders, saving lives, the economic cost of the pandemic. But today, I'd like to talk about what comes after all that, the new difficulty of grieving and mourning the loss of someone who has died, whether from COVID-19 or from other causes. Mourning the loss of someone who has died is difficult in the best of times. It is much more so now. The rituals we observe in the wake of a death are designed to fill the emptiness that the deceased's closest friends and family members feel. By their nature, these rituals involve being together, and they often involve physical touch. There is a reason for that. These things make us feel better when we are hurting. Many of these rituals are now impossible. A funeral service, if it is even allowed to occur, is for the very closest family members only. Even then, blood relatives must stand 6 feet apart while at a parent or grandparent's funeral. There is a grim joke that says extended families and groups of friends only come together for weddings and funerals. As sad as a funeral is, it is often a chance for those who are living to reconnect and reaffirm their friendships or family ties. Mourners are being robbed of that opportunity. There are also touching moments that can only happen at a funeral. A funeral is sometimes the only opportunity for the many people in a person's life to meet each other. I'll give you an example. The last funeral I went to was for a person I was very close to as a kid. A number of us were there, my friends, but we also saw his colleagues from work, even though he had retired years ago, his brother, whom he rarely saw, his grandkids, and new friends that he had developed recently through geocaching and outdoor activity. It was nice for me, but it must have given great comfort to his widow, who saw how many people from all walks of life came to celebrate her husband's life. And today's widows won't have that comfort. A burial, too, is an important ritual in many cultures. It is a ceremony often led by a minister, priest, rabbi, or other official who administers a final blessing. In the hardest hit areas, what should be a somber and reflective occasion is often rushed. Religious officials are overbooked and must hurry from one service to the next. Often, the only people at a gravesite are the funeral staff and one or two close family members. It is a Jewish tradition for the mourners at a gravesite to toss fresh dirt into the grave until the casket is covered. It is a moving and meaningful tradition with dozens of people all tossing in a few handfuls. It is laborious when it's just a few people. We often don't think about the logistics of a funeral, how a body goes from a hospital or a home to a casket or, well, an urn. But those logistics are being strained. In the hardest hit areas, funeral homes are overwhelmed and don't have the capacity to take new clients. The same is true for morgues. In New York, bodies are being stored in refrigerated trailers because there simply is no capacity in the morgues or the funeral homes. There are other indignities. Families that opt for cremation often have to pick up the ashes of their loved one in a parking lot of a funeral home rather than inside. Some funeral homes are allowing extended family members to say one last goodbye, but only if they drive by the casket and stay in their cars. The funeral business is a strange business. About 10 years ago, I had the opportunity to meet and interview about a dozen funeral home directors in small towns in the region where I live. It was an interesting project. We don't think much about the funeral business, but they are the definition of an essential function. They are often fixtures in their small towns, in their communities, and you can tell from the interviews they give that they're trying their best under very difficult circumstances. Okay, on to cheerier subjects. We have a brand new website. I pressed publish on Saturday night. Maybe you've seen it. One of the ways we're celebrating the new website is with a free 5-day writing challenge that is included in the new free membership. As soon as you sign up for the free membership, you'll see a link to start the writing challenge. It's 5 days of video lessons and writing activities, and at the end of the challenge, you will have written about your entire experience with the coronavirus quarantine. Now, that's not all. I will read all your final products. Whatever you come up with at the end, I will read it, and JR and I will choose 3 winners from the coronavirus writing challenge with 3 prizes, including the chance for your story to be featured on the Plain English website. It's not required, but it is a nice little incentive for you to complete the full challenge. So here's what you do. Go to plainenglish.com/join, JOIN, and sign up for a free membership. Well, you can sign up for a plus membership too. Nothing would make me happier, but you don't have to. You can sign up for a free membership, and immediately after signing up, you'll see a link to start the writing challenge. It's a lot of fun. It's all free. So head over to plainenglish.com/join, JOIN, and get started on that today. Today's expression is all walks of life. This is a quirky one. You won't use it a lot, but if you hear it, you might be confused by what it means. All walks of life. What does this one mean? From all walks of life. It's a way of describing all kinds of people. We usually use this phrase when we want to make a point that we are around all different types of people. It usually doesn't mean religion or skin color, but rather it means different professions and social statuses. You might remember a few episodes ago, I talked about my experience on a jury in New York City. I lived in Manhattan, the middle of it all. One thing you need to know about New York, there are all kinds of people living there. You always hear about the ethnic and cultural diversity in New York, but there is a different type of diversity, and that is all the different professions and lifestyles that are represented in New York. Well, it seemed like they were all represented on this jury. There were 2 or 3 boring business people in their 30s like me, but one guy was a dressmaker, one guy was a bus driver, one was a religious leader, one person had never worked in her life, one was a musician. There were people from all walks of life. You can see people from all walks of life at a funeral too. That's how you heard it earlier in this lesson. It's funny, our day-to-day lives, and this is not necessarily a bad thing, but our day-to-day lives are often full of people like us, or at least not too different from ourselves. For me, it's people in business. For you, it might be parents of kids the same age, or it might be people who work in healthcare, or maybe your church. Our inner circle tends to be people like us, but most of us in our networks of family and friends from home and neighbors and friends of friends, most of us know people from all walks of life, even if we don't encounter them every day. If you moved to a big city long ago, you probably still know people from rural areas. If you work at a desk, you probably know someone who works outside. You might know, via a friend of a friend, an actor or a professional athlete. You might know someone who made a lot of money from investing, and then others who have never seemed to hold onto a stable job. You know people in different economic circumstances. You may be bored in museums, but you may know someone who's a curator at an art gallery somewhere, and so on. You know people from all walks of life. When you use all walks of life, we always refer to a mixture of social statuses, not just different types of jobs. For example, a star tennis player, a rich tech entrepreneur, and a TV star don't come from all walks of life. They may do different things, but they have a similar economic status. But expand the circle a little. The entrepreneur's parents might be retired school teachers. The TV star may still be close to the minister at his church where he grew up. And the tennis player's neighbor at his lake house might be a landscaper. Those people outside their immediate circles come from different walks of life. Where are you likely to encounter people from all walks of life? Think about places where it doesn't matter what your social status is. A baseball or hockey game in America is a great example. Central Park in New York also. The richest people and the poorest people in New York can all enjoy Central Park, and so can everyone in between. Closer to home, for me, people from all walks of life can enjoy Lake Michigan, the huge lake that borders several U.S. states, and my own city of Chicago. People like me hang out in the public parks and beaches. Others are on their private boats. But regardless, people from all walks of life enjoy Lake Michigan when the weather gets nice. People from all walks of life show up in court. The propensity to commit crime may decline as you get more money, but it never goes away entirely, right? People from all walks of life listen to and enjoy plain English. How about that? That's one of the things I love about it. Well, JR strikes again. Today's song is A Beautiful Day by James King and Anders Levin. I really, really like this song. Here's the line I like the most. When I wake up in the morning, the very first thing I do, I say hello to the world outside. I say hello to something new. I really like that line, and the song sounds amazing too. I asked where JR heard this song, but I really should know the answer before I ask. It's from the Netflix show Sweet Magnolias. I haven't seen it, but I do see that it's trending on Netflix. Some of the shows that I've seen have had really good soundtracks too. So thanks for JR for this week's song, A Beautiful Day by James King and Anders Levin. And that's all for today. Remember, to get the best experience from the new PlainEnglish.com, you need to join as a member, and we have a great free membership. It doesn't have to cost anything. And if you sign up for a free membership, you'll unlock our free 5-day writing challenge. And by the way, the challenge is not just me telling you to write for 5 days in a row. You're going to get video lessons every day, special prompts to help you out, and you even get to see what I wrote for all the same assignments. I would never ask you to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. I did the 5-day writing challenge before the website came out, just to practice. I watched the videos, I did the exercises, and I dare say even my own writing improved. So all that can be yours too. And don't forget about the special prizes. Just go to PlainEnglish.com/join, JOIN, and sign up for free. PlainEnglish.com/join.